Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex. I'm a first year law student here in Texas, and I just finished up my first semester in law school. So today I'm going to be talking about kind of how my first semester of law school went and just reflect over what I learned and things I wish I would have known when I first started law school. I do have some notes here, so if I look this way, that's what I'm looking at. But I just want to talk about kind of a recap of my semester in law school and things I learned. If you're not subscribed to my channel, be sure to subscribe because I do post a lot of law school stuff and just normal days in my life as well as in law school. So make sure you subscribe. So to begin, I want to talk about how different law school is from your undergrad. I was someone who went straight from undergrad to law school. I finished in December, took the spring semester off because I obviously couldn't start law school until the fall, and then the following fall I started. So I didn't really have a break, or I didn't really get that much job experience. So undergrad was still very fresh to me when I started law school. So I just want to say that undergrad is so different than law school. Law school, you have to be really disciplined. It's very, very important that you do your readings, you do your homework, you actually buy the books, because I know I was someone in undergrad who, if I saw we didn't really use the book, I would not even purchase it, or if I did buy it, then sometimes I wouldn't even do the readings, and that's definitely not going to cut it in law school. You definitely need to do your homework, you need to do your readings, you need to take advantage of any little quiz that you have or any little assignment that you have, because you're not given many in law school. So it's important that you do the small things such as reading, such as keeping up with your case briefs and all that stuff. So it's very, very important that you're disciplined and that you know how much you have to study per day. So for example, in undergrad, you might be spending maybe 30 minutes to an hour studying a day. In law school, you'll definitely be spending a lot more time daily studying, and that's just something that you gotta come to terms with, and you just gotta accept it, because if you don't do it, then law school is probably not gonna work that well for you. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. I guess going off of that, I do want to say that studying is very important. So you got to study right after your class ends. You got to keep refreshing yourself of the things you went over in that class, because cumulative tests are definitely a thing in law school, and it might have been in your undergrad, but in law school, it's definitely going to be tested on. And if it's not tested on right now, then at the end of the day, when you take the bar, then that's going to be tested then. So it's something that you have to keep refreshing yourself what you're learning. So studying it right after your class really helps it stick, and then maybe a couple of weeks after you've studied that, then maybe go back and touch up on it just to make sure that you remember that. Because right now, as we're taking our finals, we're going to be tested on, for example, battery that I was taught the first week of school. So it's very, very important that you go back and remember kind of what you learned the first couple of weeks of school, because they will definitely take part in your finals and eventually in the bar. Another thing I've realized is that law school is extremely competitive. Just getting into law school in itself is already competitive, but while you're in class amongst your peers, that on its own is competitive as well. My school does not do a bell curve, which means that only a certain amount of people can get A's, and then after that it drops down to B's, and only a certain amount of people can get B's, and so forth. My school does not do that. My undergrad did not do that, but I know a lot of like top schools, top law schools, and even like undergrad schools do that as well. So if you've already been used to that, then you might be exposed to it in law school, depending on what law school you go to. My school does not do that, so it kind of helps a little bit, but if your school does that, then that just sets the competitiveness at an even higher level. Here, like I said, we don't do that, and I do feel how competitive our class gets. Everyone, of course, is striving to be the best one in the class, because at the end of the day, it's going to show up when you're applying to jobs and being interviewed. Some jobs don't even take if you're past the 10% or whatever, so it's definitely going to show when you're applying to jobs and stuff like that. So it's just something to keep in mind. However, don't let it discourage you. For me, it kind of hit me out of nowhere because I wasn't used to that. My undergrad school wasn't extremely competitive, so I wasn't really used to that competitive nature. So just be aware that that's definitely the environment in law school. Of course, like I said, everyone wants to be a great law student, a great attorney eventually. So just be aware that you're going to be exposed to that, and you just have to learn how to, I guess, just balance it and just be the best version of you, be the best student that you can be. And if someone is ahead in one subject, don't put yourself down, because you might be better at contracts when someone's better at tours, and vice versa. So if someone's doing better than you in a subject, don't let yourself get discouraged. Just kind of keep on going, move forward, because eventually you're going to be out of that class, and then other classes will come, and maybe you'll do better the second semester. So definitely don't let the competitiveness of law school discourage you or get to you or kind of just bring you down, because I know that's something that I experienced, and at first I didn't know how to handle it. So just be aware and just go into law school knowing that it is competitive, but that does not mean that you cannot be good and that you cannot be the top one. So just keep that in mind. Going off the competitiveness, I do want to touch on a subject that is very important, and I don't know if a lot of people will agree with me, but that's just something that I've experienced and I've noticed, at least at my school, and it's just something that you want to keep in mind. But definitely do not discuss your grades with your peers, or at least with people, like everyone in your class. Something I've noticed is that, like I said, everyone wants to be the top, everyone wants to be the best in the class. So sometimes people will lie about what grades they're getting, kind of just to intimidate you or to kind of not feel bad about themselves, I guess. So similar to the LSAT, like they tell you don't talk to people before you take the test, because some people will say that they're scoring this score and when they're really not, just to kind of get to your head. And that's the same situation with law school. If you're doing okay, if you're doing average, if you're doing amazing, like you do not need to disclose that, and people do not need to be disclosing that to you. Of course, if you have a group of friends that you feel comfortable sharing it with and you're already close to them, then I definitely do it. So let's say you just got out of your midterm and you're asking people what they think about the test, or let's say you just got your grades back and everyone's saying they got A's. Most likely they're not. They're just saying that again because if they got a low grade, they're not going to disclose that. And if they feel bad about themselves, they're not going to say that they're doing bad, of course. So that's going back to the whole competitive nature of law school. People are not going to be telling you the truth about their grades. So if someone's telling you they're getting A's, they might just be getting B's or C's. And if you're not getting those grades, you're going to feel bad about yourself, but definitely don't. Like I said, don't disclose your grades, because people are not going to be real about their grades. So there's no need for you to be sharing your grades. Like I said, not everyone might agree with me, but that's just something that from my experience I've realized and I've noticed, that people are not going to be very genuine about how they're really doing. On a little bit of a lighter note, you definitely do want to find your group and find those people that you can trust and that you can talk to. You're going to need that group of people that you can go back and ask questions with, the people that you can study with, the people that you know are going to help you get stuff done. So you need to find your group of people. It might be big, it might be smaller. My group of people consists of 2 other girls, so I'm comfortable with that. So definitely find your group of people, because you will need it. As much as you might not want to, you will need at least a couple of people or like a friend to have. Aside from your peers, you might want to become familiar with your professors. You're going to want to get to know them, and you're going to want to make sure that they know you. Your professors are most likely going to be former attorneys of the city you're in, or if they're not current attorneys, then they already know a group of attorneys. Usually when they work for law schools, a lot of attorneys reach out to schools, or the school reaches out to attorneys. So the point of this is that your professors know people. Law school is not only about the education, but it's also about networking and getting to know the right people that are going to get you the jobs after you graduate. So those people are definitely going to be your professors. Like I said, they know the right people, they know the people around in your area, so you want to make sure that they know you, and that if at the end of the day you need kind of someone to get you to those people, your professors are a perfect resource. So you want to get to know them, you want to get to know their style of teaching. So go to their office hours, talk to them, make sure that they know your name, make sure that they know who you are. So getting to know your professors is very important, and most of the time they're nice people if you really take the time to meet them and get to know them, and I'm sure they're interested in getting to know you. So take the time to meet them and talk to them. talking about professors, cold calling is definitely a real thing. So cold calling is when they call your name out and you stand up and you brief a case in front of the whole class. Depending on your professor, you'll talk about the procedural history or the facts. You'll definitely talk about the issue and the rule, and just kind of the court's reasoning and how we got to that holding. So depending on your professor, it might be a little bit different for each professor or for each school. But cold calling is definitely a thing. I myself am a very introverted person, so my biggest fear was cold calling, and it already happened. I experienced it, and it's not as bad as it sounds. So do not be intimidated, do not be afraid. Everyone's gonna get to do it. They're gonna call on everyone, you're not the only one. If you mess up, it's okay, you're not the only one who's gonna mess up. And if you get an answer wrong, your professor might put you on the spot for a little bit, but I promise no one's gonna remember that or hold it against you forever. So do not be afraid, do not go in there intimidated, just do your readings, and as long as you're keeping up with what you need to know, then you should be more than fine. Eventually, cold calling just becomes a second nature, so when you get called, at the beginning, people are going to be kind of giggly or kind of like paying a lot of attention to what you're saying, but as the semester goes on and more people are getting cold called, like, it's not that foreign anymore. Like I said, it becomes second nature, and people just get used to it, and it's not that big of a deal once the semester goes through. So do not be afraid, go in there confident, and just, even if the answer is wrong, just say it with confidence. Do not be afraid of cold calling, but just know that it is a real thing. I'm trying to keep this video really short and sweet and not keep it very long for you guys, so I guess I'll just kind of finish off with my last point of saying to take care of yourself. It's very important that, we keep up with our daily needs and we take some time each day to kind of just sit back and reflect and think and just be about yourself for at least an hour or some 30 minutes. We're still human. We have a lot of tasks. Thankfully right now I don't have that much on my plate, but I know next semester and the following semesters will be a little bit more busy for me. But I do have classmates who have families or who have full-time jobs or who are just working part-time jobs and have families. There's all kinds of people, and all these people have different things that they have to worry about in their life. So as much as law school demands you for your life to revolve around it, you have to make time for, your significant other, your kids, your parents. Like, you have to make just some time, at least once a day or weekly or as much as you need, but you need to remember to take care of yourself. You have to remember that you're in a relationship, you have to remember that you're a parent, you have to remember that you're a daughter, a son. So just kind of don't lose sight of who you are, and just remember that law school is going to be only around for a little bit of time. So yes, as much as we're spending our time here, this is not going to be our reality forever. So don't lose yourself in the process of law school, because it's only temporary. Just don't let it, drag you down. Stress in law school is definitely real. The pressure is real, but we cannot let that, take over our lives. So just, I guess my biggest point is that while law school is gonna tear you down and push you and just make you be someone that you might not be, you cannot let that get to you. You cannot let school, ruin your life. So definitely just take care of yourself, drink water, exercise if that's what takes stress away from you, meet with friends, go for lunch, but don't talk about school. Go for lunch and just talk about your daily lives. It's okay to take time off of studying. You're not going to fail if you take 30 minutes off to go for dinner or to, spend some time with your family. It's definitely not going to completely wipe everything you know about a class. So just at the end of the day, law school is an amazing experience. It definitely pushes you, but at the end of the day, it's what's gonna make us great attorneys. So just keep pushing if you're in there. And if you're barely going to start, then maybe you can kind of get a feel for what law school is like, but don't be intimidated, do not be afraid. Yes, everyone says it's hard and it's stressful, because it is, but it's definitely doable. So with that being said, I finished my first final yesterday, and I don't know if I already said this, but I have 3 more, so I definitely have to get back to studying. But just go in there with an open mind, but just go with a purpose. And with that being said, I'm gonna finish my video here because I don't know how long it is already. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I didn't bore you too much with just a sit-down video, but definitely more vlogs are coming. Thank you guys so much for watching.